Part of our Commitment 2016 election coverage, WGAL is covering all the races that impact the Susquehanna Valley, from the presidential contest down to the state and local races. It's our commitment to making you a more informed voter. I am joined now by the candidates running for the 99th Legislative District in the Pennsylvania House of Representatives. The district covers Lancaster County from Ephrata to New Holland and Gap. The candidates from left to right are Dwayne Groff, a food production worker from Gap, and Republican incumbent Dave Zimmerman from East Earl Township. Thank you both, gentlemen, for being here today. We'll start with some questions now. Agriculture is the backbone of the 99th. Is that voice being heard in Harrisburg? And we'll start with Mr. Groff.
Mike, I think the voice is being heard, but I think it could be a little louder, particularly as we're looking at issues concerning things like the Chesapeake Bay impact. The Bay has a lot of resources that are being impacted potentially by, we hear about the water runoff into the Bay, and I just wish that we could have the farmers and have the farmers be more responsible for the Bay's impact that we are on that area of our nation.
Representative Zimmerman, is that voice being heard in Harrisburg, you think, enough?
Well, it's being heard. However, we can do better. I do serve on the Agriculture Committee and currently serve as Secretary on the Ag Committee. And there's many things we are doing. We're meeting on a regular basis as a committee, and we've brought forth quite a few bills this year, or in this session at least. But there's more to do. We're in a time when our farmers are kind of facing low prices on everything, which is very unusual. Usually when your dairies is doing well, poultry may not be, or vice versa. Today everything's low, including grain, and so we do need to do better. Our farmers need to do better, and we need to do more at Harrisburg to help that happen.
Very good. The leadership decides what will run and win, but if you had your pick of legislative priorities, what would be the top of your agenda if elected, Mr. Groff?
One of the top objectives of my personal agenda is I want more funding going into education. We are the, I think, 46th lowest state as far as state funding for education. If we were to raise that by $400 million annually, we would still be the 46th lowest state for state funding. So there's a lot of room to improve there. So education is a big deal there for me. I also look at stuff like the heroin epidemic that we have going on. I also think fracking in our state is a situation that we need to address, whether it's a tax increase, an extraction fee, or a transmissions fee. There's a lot of money that we are losing because we're not just taking the money that is available to the state from those resources.
Representative, your top priorities, if you had pick of what you could run.
Yep. Well, I ran on property tax reform the first time, and that's still a high priority. When I cross the district, I hear more about property tax reform than anything else. Our people, our residents, our constituents want that. They want some reform. Unfortunately, what happens is in the western part of the state, it's not as big a problem. In the eastern part, it's a huge problem. So to try and have a bipartisan vote that gets that accomplished is a challenge. The other thing is pension reform, by far. Unless we fix pension reform, we're not going to have the dollars to do anything else that we really need to do throughout the state. So we need to get on top of pension reform and get that taken care of.
Along those lines, what would you guys both say is the biggest challenge facing the legislature? People think nothing ever gets done up there. What do you think is the biggest challenge facing the legislature, and how do you fix it, Mr. Groff?
I think the biggest thing that we have that is a problem not in our legislature, but as a problem statewide, and Mr. Zimmerman just mentioned it, is our pension reform. There is, and it's such a passionate issue for so many people. I'm at the point that I think the pension system should almost be frozen at the point that we're at, because school districts are not going bankrupt, but they may be going bankrupt in the next year or 2 or 3 because of the increased rates that school districts need to pay into the system. If we were to freeze that system where it's at and turn that into some kind of a 401k package, something like that, something that is certainly not palatable to the people who are in the pension program, but it's something that I think needs to be addressed and looked at.
Representative Zimmerman?
Well, pension certainly is huge. It needs to be fixed. The one other real big problem and concern that we have at Harrisburg and also on the federal level is this whole area of over-regulation. We continue to add regulations from every agency, and regulations are so easy to add compared to taking something through the legislature and actually have a law put in place. So I continue to say we can't legislate anywhere near fast enough to stay on top of regulations, and regulations are just costing our families, our businesses, millions of dollars a year, and just continues to increase. And you know, our entrepreneurs are discouraged from starting business. Our businesses that are currently up and running it's very difficult for them to stay ahead and even do the paperwork relating to the regulations. So we need to reel those in and kind of turn loose our job creators and give them an opportunity to get our economy back working like it should.
Briefly, to wrap things up here, guys, appreciate you both being here. What makes you the best person to represent this district? And we'll start with Mr. Groff.
Mike, I want to be a breath of fresh air into Harrisburg. I want to be the person that is able to not be an obstructionist in Harrisburg. I want to show Pennsylvania, in particularly the people of the 99th District, that I want to go there. I don't necessarily want to give in to everything that Governor Wolf is proposing, but I do feel as though we need to be more deal-making in the end. From what we saw last year of a 9-month budget impasse, that can't happen again, and I'm afraid we're going to see that again next year. So I want to be a breath of fresh air to the leaders in the area of the 99th.
Very good. Representative?
Yeah, my background in agriculture for many years and also in local government and working with small business throughout the district has meant a lot, and I've been hearing what's being said out there and been able to take that back into Harrisburg. Introduced a number of bills this past session, even worked on one with my good friend out of York County. That's a Democrat, so it's a bipartisan bill. And the idea of working together and doing what's needed for the district, and I feel like I've been listening, and I'm doing what I can to help the constituents in the 99th.
Thank you both. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate your time. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Remember, Election Day is Tuesday, November 8th, and keep up with the latest election news on WGAL.com. There you can find more information on the other races we're following that you'll only find online.